Welcome back to a little bit of cheese, your daily bite-sized Wisconsin sports podcast. This is Monday reactions, but on a Tuesday. We got to keep everyone on our toes. Sometimes that weekend likes to creep into the Monday, as it did for me this past weekend. I was stuck in Green Bay, had too much fun celebrating a 90th birthday party, so we were unable to get on recording yesterday, but we're here. We got all the analysis. We got Sam Douglas here with us. Sam, how's it going today on this Tuesday?
Hey, it's going real well. Soaking up the last little bit of summer days that we're going to be having here in Wisconsin and enjoying every minute of it.
Hey, summer's creeping pretty late here. We got October 29th, and we have a high of 81 here today in La Crosse, Wisconsin. I was wearing sweatpants to the gym, and I, halfway through that workout, wished I had not worn sweatpants to the gym because I don't think they're running the AC quite yet. But yes, very warm day. But it was another great weekend for Wisconsin sports. I mean, when I say great, we talk about Green Bay. Everyone else pretty much lost, where on Saturday, Wisconsin lost to Penn State. Final score there was 28-13. Green Bay able to get that win, but the Bucks suffering a couple of losses. We'll cover all of that. We'll start up at the top. Green Bay's walk-off field goal win for the second week in a row. Brandon McManus nails it. Jordan Love gets hurt early. Malik Willis has to come in essentially as a relief pitcher. And boy, did he do his job. I would have loved for him to come in for any of them Brewers playoff games because I think he would have been a guy to hold down the fort. But there's a couple of struggles. You got some highs, you got some lows. But I think overall you got to take a win as a win as a win, especially considering how Green Bay has played in the city of Duval recently. So I want to hear your overall thoughts here. Love getting hurt, Willis coming in, and Brandon McManus, the walk-off field goal and a Green Bay win.
And a win's a win. I talked last week about wanting to see a little bit more of a dominant performance against a team like what Jacksonville has been showing us lately. But a win's a win. When Jordan Love goes out, when you're playing with a backup quarterback, you got to be happy with what happened. A lot of good things went on. Right off the bat, Xavier McKinney is unfreaking believable.
Yeah.
This guy's a machine. I want to throw something out here. Coming in hot. 1952. Night Train Lane picked off 14 interceptions in a season. That's still the record.
Yeah.
I'm just putting that out there. McKinney's on pace to break that right now. This guy's everywhere. The Packers are going to be scoring. The teams are going to have to keep throwing it at us, and he is going to be back there lurking for the next 4 years. It's a beautiful thing.
That's the thing. Those 2 weeks where McKinney did not get interceptions, they were afraid to throw downfield. And I remember even talking last week, we were like, Jacksonville's going to have to sling it. They're going to have to throw it down the field. And right after Jordan Love throws another boneheaded interception, we don't need to talk about that one again. But McKinney is right there. It's right there in his breadbasket. You cannot toss it down the field when X is back there. And I mean, the defense they played okay. Towards the end there, you'd like to see a little bit more push, but a couple of injuries. Evan Williams was knocked out. Jair Alexander was knocked out. They get a little bit thin once those superstars get knocked out of the game. And that's a little bit of a concern, I think, moving forward, especially with Detroit next week at Lambeau.
That they do, but they keep having guys step up. You talked about Cooper looking a little bit better last week. He had an awesome game this past weekend. He had a nice punch out there. He forced a fumble. Cooper was a little bit all over the place. Bullard, Williams still looking strong back there. Last week it was Wilson. Somebody's stepping up on this
Yeah.
defense. Letting Jacksonville score 27, like you said, we did play a little bit softer, towards the backside of that game there. But it seems like every week somebody else is stepping up. Quay's going to have a good week. Rashawn Gary, he will show up at some point. Scooting by Jacksonville by 3, letting them put up 27 on the board isn't perfect, but man, I'm stoked with what I've seen. McKinney's still everywhere. And these aren't just these aren't right place, right time interceptions that he's coming away with. He is hunting the ball. He is chasing it. He is making plays. He is traveling. It looks like, an Ed Reed situation where
Mm-hmm.
how did he get there? He's turning around. Next thing you know, he's not dropping them. We've seen him drop one surefire interception.
Yeah.
And the reason we remember that is because he's not dropping any of these
Mm-hmm.
other
Yep.
other balls. You call the defensive backs, the wide receivers that can't catch, but this guy's got some hands. He's coming away with it. He's making the most out of these opportunities. So as long as we still have, guys stepping up and getting turnovers, making the most out of their opportunities, I'm still happy with what this defense has shown us.
McKinney is one of the smartest secondary players I've ever seen play for Green Bay. Like he is that good. We remember haha Clinton Dix, where you can compare the numbers a little bit to this point. I mean, McKinney has already surpassed haha Clinton Dix's interception season high total here. Because I think haha got 5 one year, and now McKinney's already at 6. But there were a lot of times when you saw Clinton Dix get burnt down the field. There's not a singular play really coming to mind that McKinney's not at least there. Like there are not wide open people once you get 15, 20 yards downfield. And I think it's because you have that center fielder there that is covering so much ground. And it's not because of how physical he is, it's because of how smart he is, how he watches these plays develop. He is a leader out there, maybe not the vocal leader, but he knows how to get these guys in the right position. He is the perfect guy to have, especially when it comes to a crunch time.
Absolutely love it. It's awesome when you can have a defensive back like that and then a running game that the Packers have. If they can't
Mm-hmm.
be taking the top off defense and we can control the ball, teams are going to be playing our style of football. And we're going to talk about that a little bit, as we start talking about what we got to do next week to play against Detroit.
Right.
But if we can be dominating the ball and cap them on their big plays, that's winning football.
Yes, it is. And when you have those guys go out with injury, to have someone step up and to be able to adapt on the other side of the ball offensively, like okay, we're not going to be able to throw it to the level that we can without Jordan Love being in there. They know that. We've seen them adapt multiple times now, and they did it in the middle of a game now this week. Like to have a game plan. And I remember LaFleur was talking about it. The one play towards the end of the game on that final drive where Willis hit Reed down the sideline. That was not a play that they had practiced. He said that. He said they talked a little bit about it on Tuesday, and then they kind of scrapped it, said they didn't think that they were going to have the opportunity to play it. And then you throw in the backup quarterback that is out there. They tried to run it once and had the confidence to do it again. The execution was there. Everyone was in the right spot. And Malik Willis, he just looks comfortable back there. And I think a lot of the credit goes to LaFleur, but you got to give so much to a guy like Willis who didn't even know where he was going to be this season when it started. And it's been really awesome to see. I couldn't wish it on a greater guy either. I think Willis is one of those stand up, hardworking, like just great overall players that makes the locker room better no matter what. Tennessee and I think the rest of the AFC South is probably kicking themselves that no one took a flyer on this kid because he's a solid NFL football player. And I love to see him come up in big moments like these. He just doesn't lose, baby. He's played in 3 games. They've won every single one. Malik Willis is the guy. And LaFleur, of course, you give him credit as well, drawing it up.
7th round pick for him. That's beautiful. And he's won 3 games for us. We're a team in trouble right now. We're looking like the Bengals if we don't have, if we decide to keep Sean Clifford instead of Malik Willis. And I've talked about this a couple times throughout the season, especially when Jordan Love went down right away, is finding ways to win the game. A little bit of adversity going on. The winning teams know how to win. It's not the most talent that you throw out there. You can have Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback and not be winning games right now. You got to figure out just how to finish the game with a higher score than the other team. We won this game because of a quarterback that wasn't on the roster over the summer, a kicker that wasn't on the roster over the summer, and a rookie linebacker. That's not the roster that you think is going to take you to the promised land, but those are the reasons. Obviously, scheme and Josh Jacobs having a heck of a day, and McKinney made his pick. But the difference makers in today was a kicker that signed 2 weeks ago, a quarterback that got traded for a 7th rounder, and a rookie linebacker. It's a beautiful thing. It's winning football.
Brian Gutekunst and the rest of that office is just smiling and grinning. And this is the big point here, and where I like to give Gutekunst his flowers over what we had been used to before he stepped in. Always looking to improve, even at backup quarterback. Like you said, they very easily could have been, hey, Clifford's been the guy. He's been there. We trust him. I found myself saying that as well, saying, yeah, Sean Clifford, he's already been there. They like him. He's got a little bit of talent. You can let him develop. They were not content with where Sean Clifford was. They knew in the back of their mind that if Love was to go down, they would not have the opportunity to win ball games as if they were to go out and find somebody with more talent. They did that. They didn't give up a lot of capital, and they kept it going. And they did the same thing at the kicker position. They had a rookie kicker last year, which it wasn't terrible. Really, Carlson's rookie year was a pretty substantial rookie year for a kicker. Like it's just where Green Bay was at as a team. And then, of course, when it came down to the end of the season, when he couldn't make that big kick, they wanted to improve that. He continued to keep looking. They brought in a couple of guys. He could have very easily said, okay, Greg Joseph, we brought him in. He's been a solid NFL kicker. We can stay with him. We feel comfortable with that. No, he wasn't content. They bring in Braden Narvison, who was awful. That I'm not going to say that there was much decisions to be made there, but the continual looking, the continual improvement that is forced upon by Gutekunst and the rest of this front office is the reason this team is 6-2. Just those two little moves that you talked about with Willis and with McManus. Without those two guys, I think this team is 2-6 right now. I really do.
Aaron Jones for Josh Jacobs was a move that not a lot of people were a fan of as well, and turns out that was, like you said, incrementally better. Every facet of the game is huge, and that's how we're taking a playoff team to what we want to see as a championship team.
And we're gonna turn the page forward now. This team's 6-2, but you're gonna play Detroit at home. Jordan Love, it was stated that there is no structural damage or whatever. It's just a minor strain, and that he has a possibility of playing next week. And when you and I both read that, I think we can both say with 99% confidence that Jordan Love is going to play. Like, this is for the top in the division. I'm very excited for this game. I'm also a little bit concerned with a couple of the injuries being dealt with in the secondary. If Jaire Alexander is not out there, I don't think Green Bay has much of a chance at all to win this game. I think they get really thin when you get down to the latter parts of the secondary. I think Jaire is so valuable to this team without him even just being on the field. I don't even know if they have a chance. Detroit putting up 52 on Tennessee last week. This team is really good. They're really scary. I want to get your thoughts, as both you and I are actually going to be going to that game on Sunday.
Really looking forward to that game. Shout out Mama Dougie for the tickets.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah, Mama Dougie.
Pulling through. We're gonna have a little caravan going out. It's gonna be an awesome day, a little 3:30 day, so we're not having to leave La Crosse at 7 in the morning or anything crazy.
We can both work Saturday night or go to a wedding on Saturday. Yeah.
Hey, Detroit's a buzzsaw, man. I'm they're cruising through. So, watching that game on Sunday this past week. They played Tennessee. They played Tennessee. I don't want to go too crazy on them, but they are dominating the bad teams and they're beating the good teams. And that's kind of what you're looking for. Without Jaire, I do wonder how we're gonna man up on Amon-Ra, especially since Jameson Williams is such a dangerous threat, to take the top off the defense at any point. I think Amon-Ra is gonna have a day if you try to put Eric Stokes on him, or one of the rookies. Like he's just gonna, or Valentine, he's just gonna burn him. I think this game has got to get won on our offensive side of the game, offensive side of the field. We got to make them play our game. When I watch the Lions, they're dominating, they're controlling everything. Teams play their style of football. They're going to run it when they want it. They're going to pass it when they want. You can score. I don't care if you're scoring 28, 30 points a game against these Lions, because they will score more than you because you're playing their game. You're playing on their schedule. If they want to go deep, they will. If they want Jared Goff to be an efficient 12 for 15 with 86 yards and score 52 points, they can do it. That's fine. So we have to maintain the ball. We got to dominate ball possession. Josh Jacobs, Emmanuel Wilson, everybody has to have a day. If we want to beat these Lions, we got to get them playing our game of football and keep the ball out of their hands, because that offense is kind of terrifying.
I think so as well. You said it correctly. Every single person in every single position group is going to have to step up. This team, from top to bottom, their entire roster, and it's even scary to think that they're as good as they are without Aiden Hutchinson, who is probably one of the best defensive players in all the NFL. Of course, there's holes on every single football team, but these holes on this Detroit roster are very, very minuscule. Every single position group has a superstar, or maybe even two of them. So Green Bay, to be able to do this, every single person has to put their best foot forward. I don't know. I think it's going to be a steep hill. Of course, if Jordan Love can come in there and he can play a cleaner game than we have seen him play, essentially every game so far this season has had some blemishes for Love so far. But if he can come in and play a clean game like we saw him play, I look back to that Thanksgiving game last year against Detroit. that was that first point where we actually knew that this Green Bay team was legit. Like that was that first point. You need every single player to go into this game upcoming with the same mentality that they had last year. And that goes with the coaching staff too. It's all going to come down to execution, and all that we can do is just hope that everybody's healthy and that we have a really good matchup for it. But I don't know. It should be a good one. It could be really bad or it could be a blast, but I'm leaning more to it being a blast. I think this will definitely be a game when it comes to the fourth quarter. So it will be very exciting. I know the rest of this week, I'm just gonna be like, okay, well, we got 3 days left until we leave. I'm very excited for it. Can't miss on an opportunity like that. So the game that actually happened before, we'll talk a little bit about this. The Badgers losing to Penn State 28-13 on Saturday. I caught a good chunk of the game. I was able to stream a bit on my phone. They played a really solid first half, I thought, but it was a Braden Locke pick six in the second half that really turned things around for Wisconsin. What is your overlook here on this game? What it means for Wisconsin football? How well do you think they really played?
Badgers played a good first half. Like the better team won. We know we're not going to beat the number three team in the country. I think Penn State's a little bit of a fraudulent number three. Don't get me wrong.
I
We
agree.
played for the first half, and they have struggled against some teams this year. So I thought we had a shot, but the better team won the game. Badgers don't have the personnel, they don't have the scheme, they don't have the bodies right now to match up against the Penn State team. Could have pulled it off again if we dominated the ball and you don't turn it over and you can keep running and just keep the clock rolling like that in a close game, then hope something breaks your way late, whether they miss a field goal or you convert a couple fourth downs. That's how we were going to win this game. I don't think it means much for this Badgers team just because the expectation was never going to be there. It would have been a fantastic night. And hey, I think it is a small win for this Badgers that we were able to keep it close for that long. But that's it's a growing point for these kids as they get older next year. Okay, we've played a few of these really good teams and kept it
Mhm.
close in the first half. Now, how do we close the deal? How is it conditioning? Is it game plan? Is it what's going on at halftime? How can we start sealing the deal and coming away with some of these top 15 type of wins? I
That's
think that's
right.
the Badgers.
I think you're right when you say what happens at halftime, because we've seen two games now where they were up against USC and they were right there against Penn State, and the second half just came out so flat and played terrible second half. They didn't score in either of those second halves. When collectively, I think they had a 6 point plus 6 point differential. You take both those first halves combined, and they just get blown out when it comes to the second half. So that might be a conversation going forward. But overall, I think it was, as you said, I think it was good to see them compete. I don't know how much of a stepping stone because I think this game went exactly as I expected. I said the defense was going to have to play lights out and hold them to 14 points or less. They weren't able to do that. And I said the offense is going to have to essentially clean up any turnovers, and they couldn't do that. And that's essentially the differences here. We know where this team stands. The offensive identity, as you said, kind of absent where it is. I know you're still dealing with the backup quarterback, but you need to adapt. You need to figure things out moving forward. I'm not frustrated about it. I'm not happy about it. This is kind of exactly what I expected that game to look like. I like to see how they played in the first half. They kind of came out of the gates and played really well. Keep it going. It's a long game. You just gotta keep things moving if you want to beat a team that is better than you. Like, how do you get to that level? And it's staying consistent from the first quarter through the fourth. So I'm kind of neutral on it, but overall, okay, everything's fine. You just look where they stand against Iowa next week. I think that'll be a pretty good game to see where both of those two schools kind of stand. Now, you're the big Bucks fanatic here, so I kind of want to pick your brain a little bit on this. I'm going to be honest, I haven't been able to watch all that much of the Bucks so far this season. They had a good win against Philadelphia on night 1. Ever since, I have no idea what's been going on. It seems like they're lacking a little bit of depth when it comes to scoring aside from Giannis and Damian Lillard, which you were hoping that you saw a little bit of improvement with that as they went out a little bit in free agency and brought in a couple of guys. But I see a lack of depth right now and a lack of consistency once again. But I want to ask, where do you see a loss against Chicago, a loss against Brooklyn, And we know how good Boston is, but a loss against Boston as well, three straight.
I saw three very different losses. I'm not super concerned about the Brooklyn loss, even though that might be the most concerning. I watched the game, and that was just a reminder that all these dudes are NBA players, man. Some of these cats on Brooklyn might be the worst team in the league. They were hitting shots, they were hitting fadeaways, and Dame was missing shots. So you're watching a game like that, and all these guys are NBA. Bucks just went cold. I don't think Brooklyn's going to hit tough shots like that for the rest of this season. So I'm not super worried about it. We got a little bit of an older roster right now, so it is going to take some time to get some wheels in motion. Seen a lot of good things from AJ Green. He's still a stud. Would love to see more minutes from him. Ajax had a couple good garbage minutes against Brooklyn the other night as well. Boston, that's a damn good team. What did somebody on the Knicks came out and said I think it was Josh Hart after the Celtics
Yep.
ran him on night when he said the boys got to get drug tested. And
I
so
mean,
Boston, they're seven deep and they're all studs. And Peyton Pritchard is crushing us. And golly, I want to beat him in the playoffs so bad, but damn, they look good. We need to see more Brook and Dame pick and rolls. Need to see more Giannis Dame action. Need to get more easy buckets. Right now, if the role players aren't playing well, we need to be okay with Giannis and Dame dropping 40 apiece. Like, I think we're trying to spread it a little bit around too much. And that's one of my gripes with Bobby Portis is that he's kind of a black hole when the ball goes into him in the post. He's taken so many shots, so many fadeaways, and yeah, he hits them, but let's roll him out with the second team then when Giannis isn't, cutting to the basket and Bobby's taking a fadeaway instead. So I think simplifying this offense a little bit, not super worried. Only seen a few games so far. But season's going. It's time to start stringing together some wins.
yeah, I think so. I don't know. I honestly just looked at the box score when it came to Boston. There was a lot going on last night in the sports world. We had a sports equinox, you had NBA, MLB World Series, and NFL. And I'm gonna be honest, the NBA was the one spot I did not go last night. So I didn't see that. I looked at the box score, but you get a 33-point game from Giannis, you get a 30-point game from Dame, and then I think the next closest was 11. Like they're just you need to have someone else step up as well, especially in a high paced NBA. That's kind of how the game is played. And that Boston team, even on a night when Tatum struggles, you have somebody step up. And that's essentially what this Bucks team is going to need. Who is that guy on that second line that is going to come in and kind of take over when the first guy's just not having his best night, which I expect the best night out of Giannis every night. We're at that point. Dame, I think, is a little, he's of course, the best two probably in the entire NBA, even if you want to call him a two. But there's just nights where it's not going to happen, and you need someone else to step in because there are a lot of points to be had out there, and it can't be just two guys. Like, even you can't expect 40-point games out of two players on the same roster every single night. That's the bottom line. I think Chris Middleton's going to help when he comes back. Of course, that's going to be huge. But like you said, getting into a rhythm, having people understand their roles, and getting a good rotation out there. And I think a lot of that goes on the coaching and how Rivers has been able to manage these guys. We've seen some questionable things ever since Rivers has come in. Like, we'll see how this team adapts. How do they continue to look for improvements and get better? But yeah, we can pump the brakes a little bit. The Bucks are not a bad basketball team. They're just trying to find their way, I think, right now. And I think you put that in a good light. I want to talk a little bit about the World Series because we are 3 games in. I know you were actually DJing on Friday night when Freddie Freeman hit the walk-off grand slam. I was down at the other end of the bar going absolutely bonkers. And I was trying to explain to Bree and my dad, who was there, like how cool this situation could be because Shohei Ohtani was going to come up. They were down by 1. You were going to have 2 guys on with Shohei on. Shohei, I believe, gets walked. And then Freddie Freeman comes up. He hits that home run. And actually, I'm just going to let that take us into our cheese grater here, as I will start at the top here. So, of course, the cheese grater, each of us are going to ask 5 questions apiece. We're going to keep it as quick and short as possible. Starting at the top here, rank Freddie Freeman's home run as all-time great World Series moments. How high on a list do you have it?
It's got to be top 3. I mean, a game-winning World Series and a game-winning Grand Slam and extras. You can't beat that. That's
Yeah.
something beautiful. Top three for sure. I don't know what the other two are, but there's not going to be five that go ahead of it. Any midseason moves from these Packers that you want to see?
Corner. They need more depth at corner. I think even if you can get just an average corner that just helps with depth, I think even when you get to Eric Stokes, I think there's a lot to be desired there. Green Bay is going to need to be deep. We know Jair is not going to be there every single week. We've seen that already this year. You need to have someone else step up. I would love to see like what they did with Rasul Douglas, that one trade deadline when they picked him up, because he was kind of a practice squad guy, but they saw something there. They brought him in and he was spectacular. Find another Douglas that would help this defense so much. How important is Wisconsin versus Iowa this week?
It's important for what it is. It's not the battle of the top of the Big Ten. It's the battle to be who's not middle of the pack. We got two 5-3 teams. I don't think either one of these teams want to finish their season at as a 500 football team. So this is big for the identity of the teams of the schools. It's not big in the scope of the Big Ten. I'll be watching. Definitely interested. Want to see the Badgers win. Scale of 1 to 10. Chiefs three-peating this year. 10 is it will happen. 1, no chance. Where are you at?
8 or 9. I watch the officiating in these games. It's disgusting. I hate watching Kansas City. Like, oh, it's and now they have DeAndre Hopkins as well. I don't know. Taylor Swift brings some dark magic. There's just weird stuff that happens every Chiefs game that I watch. Patrick Mahomes is playing terrible and this team is undefeated. It's not fair. It doesn't make any sense. I'm really scared. I think Detroit has the best chance to stand up to them. I think they have a more complete roster, but where it stands when I watch Chiefs games, I don't know if they'll ever lose for the rest of time. So that's where I go. 1 to 10 level of Bucks concern.
Two, two. I'm okay. I don't want to be a playing team. I don't care about the 1 or 2 seed this year. That's not the goal. I want to see us healthy in the playoffs. I want to see some good basketball. I want to see these young players getting minutes. And if I can hit Doc in the head with anything right now, is like we're not going to be a 1 or 2 seed. That's fine. So why aren't we playing these kids? Give AJ Green 20 minutes. Give Andrew Jackson. Give these kids some minutes. Let them show you what they got. NFC North standings at the end of the year. Ready to go.
You have Detroit at the top, Green Bay at 2. Ooh, Chicago at 3 and Minnesota at 4. It feels weird,
Yeah.
but Christian Darrisaw, the left tackle for Minnesota, is out for the season, ACL and MCL tear. I don't know if people understand how valuable Darrisaw was to this team. Without a clean pocket for Sam Darnold, we've heard this quote before, he's seeing ghosts. You saw it a little bit last week, but when things start to fall apart, he's just not that MVP candidate that we saw the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season. And Darrisaw is one of the best left tackles in all of football. Without him, you start to see the offense crumble. You're going to see the age come through, I think, eventually with Aaron Jones. I don't see him playing a 17-game season all the way healthy like that. It just hasn't happened in Green Bay. Why would it happen in Minnesota? I don't think Darnold is a top 10 quarterback. I think he's around the middle of the road, but you have one superstar wide receiver and then a solid number 2 in Jordan Addison. We'll see how good TJ Hawkinson is when he comes back, but I see a couple of holes in this defense that is going to start to get exploited. I think teams just didn't know really how to deal with the Brian Flores scheme when it started this season, but I think a lack of overall talent on the defense is going to bite them as well. And you saw Chicago lose to Washington. Well, Washington with Daniels, that's a pretty solid football team. It is. And Caleb Williams didn't play a good game. You get him playing a good game, I think you have a different result there. So that's where I stand. I have Minnesota at the bottom, Chicago 3, Green Bay, and I think Detroit is the best team in the NFL right now.
Like it.
What should Green Bay do with Malik Willis? Do you try to get draft capital with him or do you try to extend him?
Extend him. He won the job. Pay the man. We've seen how valuable it is to have him back there. Love is still going to be young. I want Love making plays. I don't want Love to be a pocket passer in this stage of his career. I want him to feel mobile and run around and pull a hammy once in a while. Love Malik Willis. He's won us 3 games. I want him to stay in Lambeau. Unless we're going to get a third or, some serious compensation from a team who's in need.
I think he's worth a 3rd-round pick. I think he's worth that or even more.
Yeah.
Like for that comfortability to know that you have that guy sit. I don't know. I think I think his value is through the roof right now. You'd have to really give up a lot of capital, I think, for Willis.
It'd be awesome. I would love to see if we do flip him, what we turn that seventh round pick into.
Oh yeah,
We get a
Goody
couple wins.
masterclass.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Um, who's your one seed coming out? I think we talked a little bit, but who's your one seed from the AFC? Who's your one seed from the NFC going into the playoffs?
You got Kansas City because the Taylor Swift Dark Magic, they might never ever lose a football game ever again until she breaks up with Travis, which we've heard rumors. There could be some things boiling up there as well. But in the NFC, Detroit, even without Hutchinson, I feel like they might go out and try to trade for somebody as well, as it feels like Campbell's alluding to that in his press conferences. Detroit's just really good. They're the king. You got to knock them off the hill before I see anyone else at the top. How concerned are you about Green Bay's secondary and their depth? I kind of gave my thoughts a little bit earlier.
I also wouldn't hate to see them pick up a piece. I'm a little bit more of a believer in Carrington Valentine than I think the typical cheesehead is. So definitely someone I want to see just get a little bit more snaps. I'm not super concerned. We got Bullard, we got Williams back there. They're still young. McKinney holds the team together a little bit back there. I don't want to overthink Jacksonville putting 27 on us. I think that was just kind of the way that Sunday went a little bit.
Yeah.
Not super concerned. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. Definitely keeping an eye on it, but
Yeah.
I don't want to blow up the draft to get someone. All right, Cody, I got a hot take for you.
I like it. Let's do it.
Is this arguably one of the most all-time choke jobs from any player in any sport ever, what Aaron Judge is doing and not doing right now?
It's pretty bad.
1 for 13. I think he's hitting 089 right now. And the world came out to see him right now. What's going on with Judge?
It's as bad as it gets. He's looking off speed, and he just flat out cannot hit the off speed right now. He is swinging at 53% of breaking balls and just is not hitting them. Like, he's striking out more times than any other. Like, he's striking out more than 50% of the time right now in the World Series. It's as big of a choke job as it possibly can be. He's one of the best players on the face of the planet. When the lights get bright, you got to be bright too. And Judge he's been a black hole in the middle of the Yankees order. I think you see a much different series if you have half of what Aaron Judge can do. Another one. It's top 3. We're seeing it. Terrible, terrible joke job, which he could, if he goes nuclear these next couple of games and New York can somehow find a way to push this to a game 6 or a game 7, it's a much different conversation. But he was one of those guys that was him and Soto carrying the Yankees the entire regular season. And ever since he's gotten to the playoffs, Judge has just fallen off the face of the earth, and they've been looking for him ever since. Until he shows up, this Yankees team just is not that good, flat out. I'm going to give my headline. I have Jared Goff solidifies MVP status in win at Lambeau. I said I worry about the secondary depth. We don't know how healthy Jair Alexander is going to be. Eric Stokes, also a question. Evan Williams getting banged up a little bit last week as well. I don't know. My headlines have been all negative towards Green Bay so far. I don't know why, but there's just, I think I worry a little bit more than the average fan, or maybe Green Bay is just better than I thought. But I have Jared Goff. He looks like the best overall quarterback right now in the NFL. He's playing like it, and he's going to be coming into a secondary that is at its least healthiest point of the season. You got less than a minute here, Sam.
Pack on top. Green Bay takes control of the NFC North with a big win. Hey, we can run the ball. There's ways to make it happen. Their secondary does have holes in it. We know that. They just came off of playing Tennessee. We're going to be a little bit tougher. I'm looking for a big win on Sunday.
Got the optimist and the realist. I try to think I'm a realist. But thank you, Sam, for being here. This has been another edition of NFL Reaction Mondays. We'll be back tomorrow. Maybe we'll get Sam later on this week. But this has been another edition of A Little Bit of Cheese, your daily bite-sized Wisconsin sports podcast.